Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Miles Lowe, host of the Do Better Show here at the Do Better Network, saying I appreciate each and every one of y'all who have been making these first few episodes pop. Look, we off to something, and I appreciate it, man. I'm appreciating it. I'm excited for what we building right here, and I hope you are as well. Okay. Look, this is your chance. If you are a brand, if you got clothes, if you make music, you write books. You do NFTs and crypto or stocks, whatever your it thing is. This is your chance to tap in with us and become a sponsor or submit yourself to be a guest to sit right here on the Do Better Show. Okay, send us an email right now at thedobetternetwork@gmail.com. thedobetternetwork@gmail.com, or Instagram, that works too. DM us, hit us with an inquiry on Instagram at the Do Better Network. While you're there, follow us, and while you're right here, be sure you subscribe, hit the noti bell, leave us a comment, something. Tell us your favorite part of the Do Better Network so far. Tell us what your favorite quote from one of our guests is, and we talk back to you guys, man. We want to make this interactive, okay? So tap in with us, we tap back in with you, and we are forever locked in like that, all right? So look, we're gonna get into this next episode. We've got one of the people I consider to be my sisters in this world, okay? Like, really looks out for me, really shows me love, and really is a supporter of what we're doing here at the Do Better Network, okay? A writer, a screen actor, somebody I'd consider a real media titan, you know what I mean, in her time, and a true hip hop pioneer, been around the world. So we're gonna talk everything from America to the motherland of Africa and back again with my sister, the one and only Dominique DiPrima. Let's get it. Boom, 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 boom. We rolling? We rolling. Action. Hey, man. Say, man. Another great day, man. It's the New Better, Do Better show. If you knew better, you do better. So who better to make you better? If you've been listening, you know the answer. But if not, the answer is you. A better you. So let's make you better, man. Right here, the New Better, Do Better show. The Do Better Network. Appreciate you tapping in. I go by Miles Lowe. I'm the host with the most. But it's not about me. It's about the conversation. It's about you. It's about improvement. And I got one of my OGs, man, in the building today, man. Really gonna bless you guys with some good gems, some nuggets, and put a whole different perspective on, topics I think we all are paying attention to, involved in, surrounded by, but may not, have a elevated point of view to really look at them from. So I have my guest, the one and only, it's Dominique DiPrima. How you doing, Dom?
Hey, Miles, I'm good.
Yeah. Welcome in. Appreciate you sitting down with me. I don't do the bios. I want you to introduce yourself to the people how you think is the best way to introduce yourself.
Well, I'm Dominique DiPrima. I am a broadcaster, activist, mama. I've been in this business for a minute and a half. Mm-hmm. And I've done television. Yeah. I have 5 Emmy Awards, if you care about stuff like that. A Gracie, a Crystal, National Association of Broadcasters Crystal Award. And I've worked with Miles Lowe in many different formats as well, but it's kind of nice to have the tables turned and be on your show.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's definitely a different dynamic for sure, being the one in front of, both on the mic, being the one to, to quarterback the whole game and have you as, my star receiver this game. I really appreciate it. I really do. Off this show, we've talked a lot about being in flow with things. Me and Joel, a producer here, was just talking about being in motion and objects in motion, staying in motion. But you have to get in motion to receive some of the things the universe is putting in flow for you, for the situation you're in, for what you're a part of. And you've talked to me before about what you call Forrest Gump moments. I want to start off there. Forrest Gump, define what you mean by when you say you Forrest Gumped your way through a lot of things.
Well, I feel like when we get up, show up, and we're ready on some level, ideally you are in the flow of the universe and you're allowing things to come into your life rather than efforting them into your life. And I feel like, particularly when it comes to hip hop, I am like the hip hop Forrest Gump. It's like I just end up in the right place at the right time with a mic in someone hands me a mic and I go, oh, okay, and I just go. I mean, so I take that to mean that I'm supposed to be doing that. On the one hand, that's part of my destiny. And on the other hand, it's like just a reminder to stay ready and allow. So, example, when I was in college, I was in a Raza Studies class, actually, and the professor said, would you rather write a big paper or be in a play? I said, be in a play. So I went in, I was in this play. I was playing a bag lady, a rapping bag lady.
Okay. Yeah.
And then, yeah, right, a lot. And so we're doing this benefit for
Hold on. So he typecast you what he did. Okay, for sure.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, this is when I was in college, right? I mean, at that point I was rapping, but I wasn't like famous or anything like. Anyway, so I go, and I'm doing this show, and we go and do the play for a union that's on strike. There's hardly anyone left, and we decide to do the show anyway. But one of the maybe 10 people in that audience was a producer from NBC in San Francisco who saw me as a rapping bag lady and asked me to come and audition for a television show. That ended up being Home Turf, which is where I got my start in the business, rapping and hosting a show for the NBC affiliate in San Francisco, which was a pioneering hip-hop show, in which, again, more kind of Forrest Gump stuff. They had been talking to Too Short about hosting the show, but they decided that he cussed too much and it would be better to go with me.
Okay. So is this a moment you were prepped for, though? Or is this a moment that you just... Because I feel like you have to, like you say, there's a part of being in motion that is chaos, because it's just free motion around, or there's organized... There has to be organized and structured actual motion, I think, in direction order.
So yeah, I mean, and this is, we're going back to the 80s now. So this is when Short is recording in his mom's garage. This is not Too Short, the star that you know. It's a guy from Oakland recording in his mama's garage versus some girl from San Francisco who's playing a rapping bag lady. So you know what I mean, to put it in context. The preparation part is, I was rapping at that point. I was appearing in contests. I would go to, like, I started in New York at the New Yorican Poets Cafe when we were out there visiting with my mom. So I was really early. Like, there wasn't really a big hip hop scene back then on the West Coast. And I was a theater arts major at San Francisco State University. I wanted to perform. I wanted to do film and plays and television and rapping and writing. And I had been writing plays since I was a little kid. So my dad's a playwright, but at the time I wasn't spending time with him. I just naturally did it.
Did you love it when you were doing it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I started writing plays, and I started making my friends perform in them, even if I had to threaten them to do so, and started making a little money doing that. You know, you just charge a few bucks, but you end up making a little change. So all of that is preparation. It was me doing what I love to do, but also training to do what I love to do, so that when someone says, hey, come and audition, and the audition consisted of reading a script and they wanted me to rap in this office on Van Ness Avenue in San Francisco at the headquarters of KRON-TV. So yeah, there's chaos. Why are you over here doing a play? And then there's openness. Okay, I'll play a bag lady that raps. And then there's preparation. So I think it was a combination of all of those things.
How, just take it back to just the play, because I know there's a long story after that, but just take it to the, not to say it like that, but just to take it back to that play. How did the people around you feel about you? Because it feels like this is the genesis of, you know, leading to places you're at now in life.
For sure.
How was did you have first of all, did you have a plan of where you'd be now then? And also, how did the people who were around you then perceive you doing just the play, being a rapper, being a theater major?
Well, okay, so I thought that I would be a movie star by now.
Okay.
You know, I'd be like a major movie star. That's what I thought. My plans changed when I moved to LA and I was with Steve Harvey. I realized I didn't want to be a movie star. But that's another story for another day. But the people around me, I was surrounded by a lot of creative and political folks, just like now, maybe even more so, because it's college, right?
Yeah.
So you have less of the professional class around you. And most of my friends were either actors, rappers, breakdancers, DJs, or activists. So it was normal. It was just normal. Starting in high school to even before high school, when I started producing my plays, that's what people expected from me. They expected me to be doing a creative project that they would not be ready for, but they would be happy for me.
So I'm thinking, I'm thinking the time frame you're saying, I'm thinking of location you're saying. I'm also thinking the fact you're a young woman at this time. What was because activism, politics, hip hop is a very masculine dominated arenas, I feel like, right?
Especially back then.
Yeah. How was the reception,
Both,
how are they
right?
taking it? How
Yeah.
they take
So I think that I was pretty well received for the most part.
Okay.
But that's because I think it's because I was a consumer and a lover of hip hop as well as a performer. I wasn't like a tourist in the space. I was part of it.
Yeah.
It was organic, right? I'm doing these plays. It's Teatro Latino is the name of the group, ironically enough, because I'm not Latino. But I was taking Raza studies, so.
You weren't a bag lady either, so it's all
I
good.
wasn't a bag lady
We're
either,
acting.
right? Exactly. So, but I was living in the Mission District in San Francisco at that time, which is a predominantly Latino neighborhood. And I was going to San Francisco State, and I was going to whatever underground clubs where the guys would be breakdancing with the card, bring your own linoleum, bring your own cardboard. So it was.
Your own cardboard. Okay.
It was.
Nice. Okay.
But it was so it was organic in a sense. You run into sexism here and there. Interestingly, for me, it was always more in the establishment than the streets that I ran into sexism. Meaning, like when I went to NBC, the affiliate there, I maybe ran into more sexism. I'd be out. I worked my way to the position of producer, so I'd be out producing a shoot with my tall old white man cameraman, and they would always go to him and ask him, well, what do you want? Where do we set up? And he got a kick out of it. He'd be like, I don't know, ask her, she's the producer. So it was more of that kind of scenario. I didn't run into it as much in hip hop. In hip hop, sexual harassment was more of a problem than sexism in the work itself.
Let's talk about that cultural activism part as well. You really got my antennas up on that one. Let's talk about that being indoctrinated into your foundation of hip hop.
That being the activism.
The activism, the political. I'm trying to skip. I'm skipping around a little bit too, but I'm just trying to focus I'm trying to focus on the feeling that you were getting from the environment you were creating in, or what birthed your initial your initial journeys, and also how your upbringing influenced your whole direction in starting. You know what I mean?
For sure. Well, both my parents are actually well-known writers and activists. I always say lifestyles of the poor and famous, because they were poets, so they didn't have any money, but they had respect, and they were well-known. So Mary Baraka and Diane DiPrima. So I was raised, she's an anarchist. He, by this time, is a communist, even though he comes through the Black nationalist movement, Black Panthers organization, and us. So I was raised on picket lines. I was raised in protests. That was just normal. It was part of our life. And I believed it because I understood. I was listening. You know a little something about that. You grow up with information. You grow up around art, and you grow up around political information and historical information. So it doesn't feel alien, it just feels normal. I've always had politics in my art, and art in my politics. It's just normal. My dad is the founder of the Black Arts Movement, so it's almost in the DNA. also, if you put it in the context of the time, you're talking about the anti-apartheid movement, right? So that's what's heating up college campuses.
Yeah.
You know, we were protesting. We got the Bank of America kicked off our campus because they were big apartheid investors.
Yeah.
And so we were into divestment. We were protesting. We were protesting on behalf of ethnic studies. Seemed like every year they were trying to get rid of our ethnic studies department, so we were doing sit-ins. So all of that stuff was swirling around at the time. And in reality, if you look at hip hop, I remember, you know, it always went in cycles. I remember going to New York and somebody saying, a well-known person who I won't name, saying to me, oh, we off that political stuff now. You know, now we're all on the party, drink. And I was like, oh, okay. Just giving him the side eye, because that's you. I'm not a trendy person like that. I like to know what's going on, and I'm interested in artistic trends. But politically, I have a moral compass that doesn't shift with the winds, right? So I'm going to change my view based on new information, but I'm not just like, oh, now I'm a Republican, now I'm a Democrat, now I'm conservative, now I'm liberal. So it was normal. But if you think about hip hop, especially at that time with the anti-apartheid movement, a lot of hip hop artists, the early artists, were taking a stand against apartheid.
Okay.
Queen Latifah, Run DMC, there's a lot of them. I can't think of all of them off the top of my head. But I feel like in you know, I'm writing about this right now, but I feel like the young people on the campuses and the young people that didn't have the privilege of going to college were in the streets protesting apartheid, protesting against the you know, U.S. intervention in Central America, protesting in favor of ethnic studies. And I feel like we were influencing the hip hop artists, and the hip hop artists were influencing us and emboldening us because we're calling for this change, and then they're putting it in their record, and we're like, that gives us even more
fuels
power.
The movement.
Yeah,
the cycle.
so there was a cycle, an exchange.
You know, I'm that's good. That's real good. I didn't know that. I think personally, I'm in a space now where I look at cycles of time.
Right.
And you're saying that the college campuses at that time were protesting world news.
Right.
You know?
Just like now.
Just like now,
Just like
exactly.
now. And do you think that the young people, because they're much more bold than the artists, because the artists are accountable to labels, and labels are part of corporations.
At that time, even though they were still...
Oh, it's not as bad as now in terms of the corporatization of
and you're
hip-hop.
talking about the Bay, too. I mean, to cut your wisdom, but I mean, you're talking about the Bay, too, where you've got so much different history from, you know, the Black Panther movement going on.
An activist tradition. Yeah, for sure. That's part of it too. But what I'm saying is now, do you think that the students protesting Gaza are pushing the envelope more, or the artists are pushing the envelope more? Who's inspiring who?
I think that the artists are inspiring the children more, but I think on certain issues, the artists have to listen to their actual. How about this? The artists are being told to listen to your fan base.
To a point.
To a point.
Because those record labels do not want those artists saying "Free Palestine."
Right, but I mean, I'm sure they want their records to sell, right?
Yeah, no doubt. But the point I'm making is that the young people, whether it be Martin Luther King or whoever it is, it's probably somebody today. A kid on a campus protesting against what's happening in Gaza, they're always going to go further than the artists, I think, because they don't have the corporate accountability or the corporate pressure. A young person is just doing it because they think it's right. Now, of course, it depends on the artist, depends on the situation. Some artists go further, right? But for the most part, I think the streets push the artists more than the artists push the streets. Because, and the other thing, especially the mainstream artists, because the mainstream artists get rich, and their priorities can shift.
Right.
To put it nicely.
Okay. Wow. I never thought, I get that, but I never thought of it like that.
I mean, look at what's happening now with certain artists who have endorsed Donald Trump.
Okay.
Most of the time when they do that, some of them think they're going to get a pardon, like Kodak Black, right? Or Lil Wayne. But most of them are thinking about their millions.
Yeah.
So now they have the interest of a rich person as opposed to the interests of the community or black people or the poor or the streets. Whereas students, they're not in that position. They're not looking, well, Trump will give me a tax break, so I have to look out for my millions or my billion. That's not what young people are motivated by.
So where, side quest on this quest through history, where did that break happen at? Or has it always been that way? Has it always been the fact that the artist is generally, because I'm used to protest music as well. I still think we have a shortage of protest music. I think
we do have a shortage, or we don't?
Do not.
Okay.
I think we do not, because I feel we're looking at the industry so much.
Right.
And we're media people, we're radio people. We play that game as well. And you can see sales. You can't always see the impact on the bottom if nobody's looking at the bottom. And
Right.
coming from the bottom, that's why I feel like there's not a shortage of people that can produce high level protest music. But at what point has it always been that way? You feel like the youth will bounce back and inspire the artist and not be the other way around, where the artist is leading the charge and being those anthems and being those?
Well, I think the artists do inspire the streets.
Okay.
I'm just saying the streets lead, and the
Streets
streets push the envelope more than the artists, because most artists are trying to make money, trying to make it, want to be on somebody's TV show or music video or movie. And so they are in bed with capitalist America for the most part. There are some that don't give a shit, and those are few and far between.
Maybe that's the topic. When did we as the consumer develop that appetite for that type of music and stop accepting? Because there's always been your hits and always been your fight the powers.
Right.
You know what I mean? And your Pacs and your Kendrick Nows and stuff. Like, where did that break from us as people who are consuming it? Because we're also consumers as well as creators.
I think you're right that there's always been everything. It's just we've gone through certain periods in these cycles where the record companies seem to have a stronger grip on the content, and we go through this, and whenever that happens, we always move toward more pro-drug, sort of hedonistic kind of thing. And not that I'm a prude, I mean, have fun, party, but if you look at the cycles, when the record labels get a tighter grip, we go more, consumerism, right?
There's also less people that make it through that door anyway. The art never stops slowing down and evolving, and people don't stop making art, but even the people that have access to that start getting smaller and smaller.
Right, it gets controlled. So I don't know if there's ever really been a break, but what I do think is that in the beginning of hip hop, and I actually witnessed this, they didn't take us seriously. The powers that be did not take it seriously. Every year at Channel 4, they used to ask me, when is this fad gonna go away? And I said, are you talking about hip hop? I don't see it going away. It's just barely growing, right? And year after year, they would wait for it to die out as a fad. And after a while, they started to see the potential. It took a long time before they saw the commercial potential of a multi-billion-dollar industry. And once that became more clear, I think corporate America took a much more of a death grip on the content. And there became less variety available on the radio or in popular, sort of the mainstream, I should say, not popular. Because to your point, in the streets or in the community, there's always a variety. But what's allowed to be amplified is the question.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. Thank you. We only got a certain amount of time, so I want to get through a lot of topics with you, Dominique. There's a lot I really want to ask you that I'm curious about. Let's go back in time now on that cycle. And let's talk about, connecting with ancestors through art. Let's talk about that Sankofa, that actually looking back while you're still 10 toes going forward. And how what do you think we can learn from prior generations of hip hop? And what do you think hip hop at its 50 plus year peak, that we're at now. Maybe not peak. Let's not say peak. Let me not say peak. That's not the word.
Milestone.
Yeah, there we go. The big birthday, the golden birthday. You know what I mean? What can hip hop learn from, which is an American-born music, by the way, Black American
born, baby.
It is.
I mean, we had collaborators, but
For sure. Yeah,
Black American art.
Yeah, we was in the hood with everybody. Yeah, I mean, it came out
no
for
doubt,
sure.
no doubt.
But what can this Black American made art learn from prior Black American made arts, cycle wise? What are we missing?
So as far as the ancestors, I mean, I think Sankofa was almost always part of hip hop. Go back and get it. Looking back to go forward. I mean, the call and response, that whole piece is African, right? The use of syncopation, the way we tell our stories of the communities like griots, which is, of course, the African historian oral history, where there were certain people in the community that were designated to be storytellers. And they did it by speaking. They didn't do it by writing it down back in the day. So many elements of our ancestors, even Black American ancestors, the blues has that tradition.
Right.
But many of those traditions do come from our roots in the motherland. And we keep building on them. So, I mean, I think artistically it's already there. I think politically we can go back and look at the destruction of artists and activists. Intentional destruction by programs like the COINTELPRO, piece that was created by the FBI to target specific people, to divide our communities. I think we see that playing out actually now with some of these ops that are in social media spaces, creating division within our community, creating division between us and Africa. Even within our own hoods. And I think we can learn by being smarter about that, by learning to be more media literate. We have way more challenges than they did in terms of that, because there's dis, and other information coming at us from so many different places.
Right.
I think that we also benefit from our ancestors because they did discover a lot of that stuff. Some of it they were able to overcome, some not so much. Fred Hampton, who knows what he would be doing now had he been allowed to live to 22. I think there's a lot to be learned from history, and I hope we're paying attention.
Is there magic in music?
Absolutely, there's magic in music. There's magic in creativity.
Yeah.
There's magic in the synergy of all these different things, right? And all of these intersections. Music and poetry and visual arts and politics. One of the things that I don't do enough, but my mom taught me this, is that as an artist and as an activist, we have to take in other people's work. We've got to go to museums, we've got to go to shows, we've got to read books, we've got to listen to music, because you can't just output all the time. You have to feed that magic, and that's when you ask me, well, how were the people around you reacting to what you did? We were in that soup. We were in a stew of trying to make magic with $1.50, you know what I mean? With no money and a hot plate. But absolutely, it's magic. I mean, you saw it when we were in Zanzibar.
Yeah.
And we're on the beach and we're playing Kendrick Lamar, and guys that are fixing the roof that live in a remote island in East Africa are like totally.
They not like us. They not like us. They not like us.
Yeah, that's a little tiny bit of that magic.
Yeah. And I think that we get away from that. I think it's evidence that there's magic in the music, and I think it's just something that, we as creators in this generation lose, lose touch with, lose understanding, lose focus of, lose even a want to know that's part of what we're creating.
I think it's this.
Yeah, everybody's
Scroll,
scrolling.
scroll, 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 scroll. It's like the even though I get a lot of great information and
Yeah.
inspiration from that, it's almost like there's a hardwire right into our brain that somehow sometimes keeps us from going outside the matrix, you know?
Yeah.
Like just go walk along. I mean, I don't know.
I think too, we're at a point where everybody's getting so much info from their phones, that they, one, can't use, two, won't use, three, aren't even really important to them or beneficial really, and it turns into just television and commercials, and you know what I mean, it's in between what you actually looking for, which is Facebook or Instagram
Right.
or Discord, whatever you're using.
I mean, I'm not a tech alarmist, and in fact, I got a lot of heat
We can go there. We can go
as
there.
a mother because I let my kid. Like to me, if you're going to force your child to do homework on a computer,
Okay.
then you need to let them also play on the computer. And I
Respect.
got a lot of heat from that because mamas are like, oh, they don't know how to communicate, blah, blah. I don't agree with that. I see my teenage son and, you know, their friends, and they're all on their phones, but I know they're communicating with each other. They're on Discord, they're on text thread, they're in apps I probably haven't even heard of yet, and they are communicating even though they're on the phone. But as artists and as political persons, one of the things I admire about Maxine Waters, she'll ride around her district looking out the window. Just hop out the car and say, what's this? Oh, I need to fix that. So I think I'm not a tech alarmist. I think there are alarming things happening that we need to track. But I also think I'm just saying we need more space for our creative and political understanding, you know?
Got to create space for the universe to feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the universe will feel it. Empty out the extra bullshit out the brain.
Even if it's every once in a while.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's one of the reasons sometimes when I'm like running or power walking, I don't have anything on. I just want to let my brain, and it's one of the reasons why I'm a big believer in meditation. Even if it's 5, 10, 15 minutes a day, because you're not on the device, you're not at work, and you're not in the bills. You're just, or at least hopefully you're not, you're creating space for your spirit and your brain.
See, this is the Forrest Gump flow we was talking. Claude, the next question was going to be, how do we create this magical healing music? I think we've been sold a lot of deaf culture.
Yeah. For sure.
To the point where it's just as normal as everything else we go through, I think.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's not sustainable to be, you know, you're who was, I think it was, I ain't gonna quote who it was then, but somebody said that if you know, your environment beats your mindset every time. Saying you could be,
Yeah.
you could
I
know
don't
you want
believe
to
that. I believe that, I believe it does many times. But I interviewed Geronimo Pratt, AKA Geronimo Gijaga, right when he got out of prison. Like his first stop was my radio show because I had been talking to him behind bars. We'd been able to get some interviews through. And he was in solitary confinement for 27 years, most of 27 years, and was kind and gentle and generous and not bitter and just full of light. And you want to talk about environment.
talk about being in the dark.
Yeah. And I asked him that, I said, how are you so like joyous and not bitter? And he said, discipline, like work out every day, Tai Chi every day. I said, oh, I work out like 5 days a week. He said to me, no, every day, sister, every day. And so I think that our creativity, our discipline, our meditation can transcend environment, but it's just not easy.
Well, I mean, but you're talking about people that have been not to Dan Geronimo's point, but I mean for what it's worth though, you're talking about a culture, and I'll be specific, you're talking about a culture being a collective pool of Black kids who have been told this story about themselves.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
it's just, you know what I mean?
That's right.
They're born, they're not isolated to into darkness. They're
Well,
put
and-
into the chaos. They're put into the Forrest Gump flow to where everything they're going to run into is meant to be something that becomes this narrative that we don't, of the deaf culture.
Yeah,
of some way,
no
shape, or
doubt.
form.
And when you talk about Geronimo G. Jaga Pratt, you're
Yeah.
talking about a member, actually the Minister of Defense for the Black Panther Party.
Yeah.
So somebody who very intentionally
Knew he was enemy.
calculated a mindset
Yeah.
that was counter
Exactly.
to that death culture that
Exactly.
you're referring to. And it was intentional.
Yeah.
So I agree with that. I'm just saying I never want to say, oh, well, this is the prevailing, so therefore we just give
Yeah.
up.
Of course.
I do think that we've gotten to the point now where we're selling ourselves deaf culture.
For sure.
And
Yeah.
the thing about it is, it's interesting how I'm looking at this this debate that's going on right now on social media with Kendrick Lamar and this comedian Schultz, right? And it's interesting to me how the free speech, everybody has a right to say everything with no consequences, that value is very infinite when it comes to certain points of view, but when it comes to other points of view, it's very limited. What do I mean by that? This guy is mad because Kendrick told him why comedians need to stop talking about black women, right? So he wants to threaten to rape Kendrick, and everyone's like, oh, he has a right to say whatever he wants, right? But if a black person, any black person, threatened to rape some white person, comedian or otherwise, that free speech value would be different.
Emmett Till allegedly whistled at a white woman.
Right, exactly. And you see that double standard with the way we report on Israel.
Yeah.
You see it with the way we report on, crime.
Yeah.
So that there are societal double standards that reinforce that death culture in a way that's beyond just us being, in chaos and gravitating toward our own destruction. I mean, I think there's a herding going on.
So the answer to that is
To be intentional. I mean, the chaos is not really as chaotic as it seems.
No, not at all.
It's
movie magic.
to be intentional, and that's and it's I don't know, because it's not always possible for elders to reach younger generations. Sometimes not. But I think our Gen Z and Gen A are hella smart, and I just feel like they're figuring it out. Even this, is not all about grind till you die. Even this people make fun of them for looking for a soft life or not prioritizing, money over everything. To me, that's part of breaking away from that. That, I forget who said it, the corporate death burger. It's a means of, well, is this my priority? What's my definition of success?
Yeah.
I mean, the building blocks of that are meditation,
Okay.
decent food, right?
Okay.
So taking care of your mind
Right.
and your body.
Right.
And I was looking at another post on Instagram, which I can't remember who it was, but it was smart. She was talking about my godmother, one of my mom's high school best friends, Audrey Lorde, who really was one of the first black people to start talking about self-care. But she wasn't talking about self-care meaning, go to the south of France and eat bonbons. She was talking about self-care as in mind, body, spirit, wellness, so that we can accomplish our liberation. So that we're clear-minded, clear-eyed, and strong to be able to make those choices and not just be herded to our own,
Right.
destruction.
Right. And that's also part of that wellness is part of what we were talking about a second ago. Limiting what you're limiting what you're consuming mentally through these screens, but more importantly, knowing what you're consuming through these screens. So it's not just you consuming for your health of your body, you're also consuming these type of things for your mind as well. So it's not just the exercises to exercise your mind, but also feeding your mind to build it up proper from the jump street. That includes the music that you listen to, the stuff you're watching, the people you follow, your algorithm. Your algorithm really is like second brain. It's really built to read off of what your already natural habits are, your normal habits.
Right.
and what you already have told it that you like and what you spend the most watch time on. So all it's going to do is be, some things are reflectors, some things are mirrors. It's all it's going to do is mirror what your brain is already telling it to do. It's not projecting 100%.
Except for when you have Russian bots and special interests that are, I mean, you saw that Facebook had that experiment that they did without telling users they were experimenting on them. They flooded their feed with sad news to see if it would make them feel depressed. And lo and behold, it did. And we don't know how many experiments like that they're doing.
Right.
But you're right. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you. I just want to flag that other option, which is that we have put corporations in a position to manipulate us. I do it too. I'm very addicted to social media. I love it. But I think you're right. It's part of our diet.
Yeah.
And we need to look at it that way, including sometimes detox. But even more than that, the other point you're making is about media literacy. And that's not just mainstream media, it's also social media. Who posted that? Why did they post it? And what is the outcome that they hope to get?
There we go. Okay. That's why I like Dominique, y'all. We in sync, Dominique. You going everywhere. Yeah. I'm heading to. I like that. Because I want to talk healthy media consumption. How to tell what people don't read as much. People don't fact check. People don't do their own research. People get told things. People stumble upon information now that you're not even looking for.
They think they stumble.
Exactly. It's planned. It's put in front of you. Advertising dollars put that video right in front of you. So let's talk that. Let's talk healthy media creation, healthy media consumption, as well as, you say you're not a tech apocalypse girl.
Right.
But AI is on the way. Because I've been doing AI for the last few years, it's very easy for me. I thought it'd be harder, honestly, at this point. I thought a year or two ago when I was talking the first time about AI, and I was kind of like, oh my God, we got to set something. It's on its way, And this is when, Will Smith had the spaghetti video, how that was going around, and to see how AI videos are. And they've gotten so much better.
Right.
The music's gotten a lot better, and the writings and like the whole AI platform has skyrocketed last year or two. But to the trained eye, it's not that hard to tell the difference.
Right.
People come to me all the time like, "Did you see that?" I'm like, "That's AI, Mom. Sorry, Mom. That's AI.
Right.
Sorry, bro. That's not real. That's not. You don't see the 7 fingers on the hand. You don't see that ripple, right? You know what I mean? So
you don't see the terrible writing.
The terrible writing.
I mean, and they will continue to get better because they're going to keep copying us.
Yeah.
But hopefully we're also going to continue to get more sophisticated in detecting it. That's what I mean when I say media literacy. And I think young people are ahead of older generations on that, for sure. I've had several people DM me on Facebook just super alarmed, and they're elders, about some video that someone put in their inbox. And they don't even know who put it in there or why, and it's a fake. It's a deep fake. And my question is, why do they want you to be outraged and upset?
Yeah.
Why do they want you to hate this group? Why? Follow the money. I think media literacy has to be part of our basic education, like elementary school. How do you tell the difference between a deep fake and something real, AI and something real? Even within the so-called, non-AI media, we have to be able to detect bias, sources, funders, all of that we have to learn. And I think perhaps, like thinking about what you're saying right now, we're going to have to start doing it, in oral tradition, because people aren't going to read it in a book, right? We have to start doing it in sound bites that can also go around on social media. That shit on
that new music that we putting out, man. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's super important. And it's even more important now with the way that politics are going and the way algorithms, bots, deep fakes, et cetera, are being used to change people's opinions about the world and their own choices.
Let's also talk about media. Was that all the clean media tips you had? I didn't want to cut you off there, my bad. Because I thought too, what you just said for the older people too, I'm thinking about, as I'm writing these questions, I'm thinking about them for me personally, but I didn't think about the amount of people who are just technology, slow on the technology
Right. I
tip.
mean, my own mom she's passed away now, but she was a certified genius. I mean, my mom was an actual genius,
Yeah.
right? And yet she called me thinking that my child was in England, and needed money because of some online scam, some email that she got. And, so it just shows you like super brilliant people from another era, it's not obvious to them what's obvious to you. And so we have to be mindful about helping to teach that. During the COVID era, I was working with a friend telling me that a lot of our Black, especially older adults, were not able to access COVID help, money, food, everything, because they don't know how to do anything on their phone except make a call. And that's not good. You've got to be able to upload a document here or access a website there. So that's one thing. I think another thing is we have to teach kids and ourselves to check opposing sources. So like clean media. If I see a story that I'm alarmed about, or any story that I just want to know about, I'm going to look at what is the Huffington Post or the Nation saying, because they're more on the left. And then I'm going to look at what is the Wall Street Journal saying, or the Daily Standard, because they're far to the right. And that way you can kind of get both people's spin, and you can use your own brain to figure out what is actually going on. Because these folks have agendas, even though they pretend they don't. And even the ones that are so-called objective, which the CBS, NBC, ABC, they can only see things through their own eyes.
Right.
So if you look at what the left is saying, and you look at what the right is saying, and then you see what they're calling objective, you can also figure out what's actually going on.
Word. Okay. Man, growing, because through all this, I'm seeing the life story as well through. The main thing I want to get your life story through the different media forms.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm kind of following along. Is there personally, do you feel there's an obligation to anybody specifically as you mature and age through these media spaces? Does that change?
You mean an obligation as far as our audience, or an obligation, my personal obligation as a journalist, artist?
Well, I mean, for you first off, but I mean, should there be that, or should it? Because I also feel there is the same way there's, because I want to play the polar opposite. There's a space for people to be so progressive, there's also a space for people to, you know what I mean? We need that middle field as well. We need the people who, and I feel like a lot of people what they're missing is a purpose for why they're doing what they're doing. And that leads to, I guess, your why, who turns out to be your who you do it for sometimes. Right. You know what I mean? Should everybody have that, or is there a you know what I'm saying? Is there a middle ground as well that people don't need to have?
I think that to me, as soon as we start to admit that we can only see the world through our own lenses, then we're more honest. When ABC, NBC, and CBS say, we're objective, but the way they report on Black people is not at all objective, because they're only seeing it through their own eyes. I would rather they say, well, I'm a 70-year-old white man, and I'm doing my best to be fair, but I can only see the world through my own eyes. That would be more honest. What happens is people say they're in the middle, and they claim to be objective, so we're supposed to accept their biases as the default. And that's why I say, go look at what the left is saying, go look at what the right is saying, and then use your own brain. As far as our obligation, I think we do have an obligation to be fair, truthful.
Okay. So let me get an example to cut you right there. I'm thinking of my man Stephen A. Smith. Completely different form of media than what we do.
Right. He's an opinion journalist.
Exactly.
Like me.
Where is his obligation at? Where are people who are doing, there we go, opinion-based media?
Yeah. To me, he has an obligation to be fair and to be honest.
Fair and honest.
And what does that mean? It doesn't mean I have to coddle you. You going on his show, you coming on my show, you're grown.
Yeah.
You know what you're getting yourself into. It says unapologetically progressive right behind me every day. So don't act like, don't act like you're stupid.
Yeah.
But by fair, I mean, I will not lie. I'm not going to sit up here like a lot of these conservatives do and just make up facts that suit my purposes. I'm obviously going to use the facts that support my argument, but they're going to be facts, okay? By fair, I mean not disparaging people, like personally attacking them, calling them out of their names.
Yeah.
You come on my platform, we get in the ring, we go 12 rounds, and you know, and I'm not going to come with a gun and shoot you. Like, I'm going to stick to the rules that I set up. That's what I mean by fair. And I think we do have an obligation to do that. And fair also means being honest about who's funding you.
Yeah.
And where you're getting a check from, because that's going to color how you present an issue.
Is that really everybody's business, though? I mean,
if it has anything to do with what you're reporting on, yes.
Okay.
If it doesn't, then no. But let's say I'm Stephen A. Smith, and I'm getting a check from the NFL. Then my opinion about Colin Kaepernick kneeling is going to be colored by the fact that I'm low-key working for the NFL. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I'm more likely to take the position of my employer. That is relevant to the story. And if you get on there and spout an opinion without sharing that little piece of information,
that's your ass.
you're lying. You're lying to the public because you're not telling them what your motivations are.
Oh, got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's why they say full disclosure. Full disclosure. I'm married to Donald Trump's son. Full disclosure. Like, you gotta. To me, that's the obligation. For me personally, the obligation is to move my people forward towards being smarter, more informed, more able to think critically. Not just to think everything I say is true.
Okay.
But to think critically.
I got a few more questions for you, Dom. You got it?
Okay.
For sure.
I'll try to be not long-winded.
No, you painting. Look, we are artists right now, Dominique, and you are painting. You know what I mean? I'm a rapper. I'm just putting lyrics to it. And you painting a Picasso every question. So I appreciate this. I appreciate your time for real, Dominique. For
no
real.
worries.
The word legend.
I don't like that word.
You don't like the word legend?
I like it for dead people. I don't like it for me because I'm still alive.
Okay.
I like icon. I mean, I guess there's a reason why people say living legend, because it means you're not a dead legend. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I guess it's not that I don't like the word. It's just that I am a work in progress. I still got stuff to do. I do feel that I've done a lot of things that I wanted to do, and I'm happy with like a lot of the contributions that I've made, even though most people don't know what a lot of them are. That's fine. It's between me and God. But I just don't want to be boxed into a static position. Like you're frozen in time.
Is icon over legend? Is legend over icon?
I just don't think we think icons have to be dead.
Okay.
Iconic means you're, amazing and singular in your field or your space.
Hold on, while we here, keep going. Let's look up this Merriam-Webster definition of icon in the dictionary.
Icon. And I think when we think of legend, we think of something in the past. And I'm happy to live in the past.
Legendary.
But I
iconic.
want to be able to live in the present also.
Legend. Okay. So legendary, you're saying?
Legendary as an adjective, I don't have as much of a problem with it. When you use it as a noun and you say this person is a legend, Bob Marley is a legend. I love Bob Marley. But we're not looking for any new albums from him.
Yeah.
He's gone, So that's all.
Oxford says a legend is a traditional story, sometimes popularly regarded as historical but unauthenticated. The legend of King Arthur, myth, saga. A famous, extremely famous or notorious person, especially in a field. Celebrity, star, superstar. Okay, all right. It's not giving.
Well, it doesn't say past tense, but I just think that's.
But it does say living legend as their example, so I think you point.
Yeah.
And you said icon would say that you're more.
You're uniquely impactful in your field, or
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. That's my.
Do you feel that a person or thing regarded as a representative symbol or as worthy of veneration?
Yeah.
Okay. See, learning new words.
I'll take the veneration.
On
Bring
the
the
end.
veneration on.
Okay. Okay. Do you
good.
think we get at these titles out too much? Is what I was going to get at.
For sure.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. I guess there can be tons of legends and tons of icons.
For sure.
So maybe not. I'm not stingy with things because I feel like there's enough for everybody. You know, I feel like there's enough for everybody, but there is you're a legend and you're a legend and you're a legend and you're a legend.
Somehow
part
everybody's a
that's
rapper now. And everybody, I think we give out every time. Everybody can define themselves now.
Right.
And
Everybody's a rapper. Everybody has a podcast.
Yeah.
Everybody is a filmmaker.
Everybody's media. Everybody got a media. Everybody got a media pass now.
Everybody's a brand.
Everybody's a boxer. We got YouTubers boxing now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't want to see that fight without. Anyway, yeah. So as long as they are able to strictly control the environment, then they can thrive in those areas and be boxers or legends or whatever, or rappers. But
I even think I think a lot of people we call legends aren't.
yeah.
Is there what's the word? Is there morality in what legend brings or what icon is? Like, what are you legendary for? We call you a legend. What are you legendary for? Let's diminish your legendary status, your iconic status.
Well, you know what, Miles, you've heard me say this a lot because I know there's a lot of things I've done in hip hop, in the urban peace movements, in activism that I do not get credit for. But I always say,
who's getting there?
I always say the streets know.
Yeah.
Isn't that what I always say? I say the streets know. And that's how I feel about the whole legendary icon rapper. You could call yourself a rapper or a boxer. You can put yourself in the ring with Tyson. Everybody know you ain't Tyson. Everybody that's supposed to know, everybody that's worth a shit knows you ain't Tyson. Right? So I feel like those have to be self-cleaning titles. You know what I mean? We could call somebody a legend, and if they're not a legend, are they going to be treated as such by the streets? Whether it's these internet streets or the real life streets, I don't know. I don't want to have to police who's a legend or who's an icon. I think those things. To quote Fidel Castro, he says, "La historia me absolverá." History will absolve me.
Okay.
And whether you like that dude or not is not the point. The point is the streets know.
Yeah.
And if they don't know now, they will know in hindsight. History is not going to be kind to the MAGA movement. I don't care how much you're in the cult now. When we have time to evaluate and see the impact on the majority of people, it's not going to look good.
Yeah.
And I feel confident that for all the mistakes and stupid stuff I've done, the lens of history is going to say, she was dope. And I'm trying to be like Ida B. Wells. That's my hero.
Okay.
And I hope that history will, I feel pretty confident because I've done a lot of things based on my ethics that history will look back and say, you know what, she did a pretty good job.
Okay. I wasn't expecting that Castro quote. That was good. Okay.
History will absolve me.
How do you say it again? What do you say?
La historia me absolverá.
The history will.
History will absolve me. Yeah, in Spanish they always put a the in front of something when they're talking about all of it.
Okay. El Pueblo Loco. I got you. Okay,
Yeah,
for sure. I'm learning. You said a lot of names during this conversation. I haven't heard you say my man Tupac Shakur's name one time.
Well, you didn't ask me.
I didn't ask you. I didn't ask
I
ask
love
you about
Tupac.
Castro either, but you know what I mean?
Well, but it was a quote that was fitting in the moment of what you said. I mean, but Tupac is a good example because he didn't get to live very long, just like Fred Hampton didn't get to live very long. But look at the impact that both of these young black men have had on our country, on our culture, on our way of life. I don't know that I could have called that. You know, back when he died, I was overwhelming. It's just like, what? Like, because to your point earlier about, I know Tupac is claimed by Baltimore, Marin City, Oakland, and LA.
Yeah.
And all of those can be true.
Right.
That's the magic of Gemini, of which I am one, claimed by the Bay, LA. But Tupac, he was very much part of that Black Panther Party tradition, that tradition of activism, which you referred to in terms of the Bay, which is where I met him, and which is where that formative West Coast hip hop is part of it. I mean, there's a LA thing going on too, but that I was part of in the early days. It was very much connected to that history of Black liberation struggle. And so I think, I wouldn't have anticipated his impact lasting the way it has, and I'm so thankful that it has. I feel like it's deserved. If you would have asked someone in Oakland in the 90s if Tupac was a legend, they probably would have laughed at you. But history has absolved him. History and the streets, same thing the streets know, history knows, has put him in his rightful place of being iconic, of being very influential, because at that time, I mean, a lot of, and still to some extent, there are categories. You're a gangster rapper, or you're a conscious rapper, or you're a backpack guy. And Pac was able to resonate with all these different communities without changing who he was, all of who he was. And that was really revolutionary in itself. It opened up a lot of space. You know what I mean? It creates a prototype where you can have a Nipsey Hussle who is definitely coming from the street, the street culture, but the hood culture, but who also functions as a revolutionary in some ways within his own community. And that is the Black Panther Party paradigm, as expressed through Pac, and hopefully, to some extent, others of us that respect and salute that tradition.
Sure.
And he was, you talk about art making magic.
Yeah.
He was touched with that ability.
Yeah. Real alchemy.
Yeah.
Real alchemy.
And he hella looked out for me.
Yeah, I was about to say,
Thank you, Pac.
if you don't mind, can we talk about some of the connections that you have through Pac over the years?
Well, when I first met him, he was more like a roadie. He was dancing. He was kind of like a hype man roadie, hangout guy. He was funny and charismatic. But I knew him from when he was with Digital Underground at that time. I think that I may have done his first interview on camera.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think so.
Okay. From the famous clip that.
Yeah, and.
You want to talk about that clip too a little bit too?
Well, yeah, there's a clip that's going around the internet where I'm asking him about Hammer, and he disses Hammer. This was from a special we did called Listen Up, which was a spin-off of Home Turf, the show that I had done for many years in the Bay Area, which predates 106 & Park, predates Yo MTV Raps, quite possibly the first or among the first hip-hop television shows. And that, at the time, went crazy. I mean, we didn't have social media, but the phones were ringing off the hook. We were getting emails. People were mad, or they were happy. Like, it was an instant example of Tupac's ability to touch a nerve. And set off a firestorm with just a couple sentences, right? And so that was, we had a lot of meetings at the station. People were being called in. I had to go and sort of defend him. And also, Hammer's people were none too happy about it. I had a meeting with them. There's a lot of stuff that went on around that.
This is the Bay, by the way.
This is the Bay. Everybody knows everybody. And everybody's connected, quite as it's kept, connected to the streets. So no matter what their image on vinyl might be, there's another part to it. You know what I mean? So yeah, that was a whole controversy. But I think that it was an early example of just his ability to do that, what you're calling alchemy, his ability to just create energy and opportunity and conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then, you know, the other most famous interaction of me and Tupac is the Machiavelli album, that quote from my show that, you know, that he lifted off the radio.
I love Tupac's new album.
Yeah, right. That one is when Digital Underground was on my show, Street Science. This is LA. I'm in LA, living in LA by now. I'm at the Beat. It was 92.3 the Beat then. And Tupac was in LA, and I felt like we had a little thing, like we were Bay Area kids we were the ones that were brave enough to say, let's just go to LA. Let's go to the big show. Go where the food is. And so I think there was some love and respect on that basis. Like, you know, Home Turf was canceled. I was offered a weaker version of my own show in Oakland. And I'm like, no, I'm not a teenager anymore. And I want to go to LA.
Yeah.
So anyway, so Digital was on my show. We were talking about Pac. They were still in the Bay, but they were touring, so they came on my show. And I knew them from back in the day, so it was a relaxed conversation. And Pac was listening on the radio, and he heard that, and he recorded. He took it. He didn't tell the station. He didn't tell me. I mean, he hinted at it when I saw him at the Soul Train Awards, but he didn't tell me. Nobody knew until it was already pressed and shipped. And that was really dope. The first time I heard about it, my program director came in and he was like, Dominique, you're on the effing new Tupac album. I was like, word? So that was amazing. And I really, you know, some people felt like he was shading me because I was critiquing him in that clip.
Right.
But I did not receive it that way. I received it as support because, number one, you know, he immortalized me on his record. Number two, I got paid off that clip from Death Row.
Hello.
You know, which he made sure that I did.
Sugar ain't pay everybody.
No.
Yeah.
and Pac made sure that I got paid, which allowed me to put a down payment on a house. Okay. And number three, because I always played that role in the Bay. You know, in the Bay, I would be like, yo, yeah, okay, I'm going to defend hip hop to the end because we talk about death culture, violence, misogyny. That's not the domain of hip hop. That's the domain of American capitalism. So if you're going to critique hip hop, you're racist if you're only critiquing hip hop for those problems when they are societal values that are reflected in our budget, in our teaching, everything. Right? So I'll defend hip hop, but I was always the voice going, yeah, that's kind of sexist. You know, and back up off that. They were used to it. That was always me.
Yeah.
On TV, on the streets, on the mic. That was just on the protest. Yeah. So to me, that represented Pac this is Dominique doing what she's always doing. Yeah. Trying to pull me back from the ledge. Why are you, I slept with your wife?
Right.
What are we doing right now? This seems like an escalation that's going to be very problematic. And I was right. It was very problematic. And he knew it, or why would he put that clip on the record?
Right. Okay. Always been a strategist, Dominique. I like it. Okay. Wow. Was there anything else you want to, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you right there.
No, you weren't cutting me. I'm trying to follow your lead and not get carried away, you know, because I really, you know, I think about Tupac. I think about Easy, who also became my friend when I came to LA. And Fred Hampton, I know those, you wouldn't necessarily think of those three people in the same sentence. And Easy was a little older when he died than Pac. But because they were such powerful people who knew how to unite individuals and move the culture, what would they be doing now? That's what I think about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So you know we gotta do a part two soon.
Okay, part two is on.
Before we wrap all the way up, before we get out of here, you want to give us anything you're working on? Give us your socials, and more importantly, give us something we can do better to make the world better. Those three things.
Okay, so Let's see, what am I working on? I'm working on a book, and hopefully I'm going to finish it. I'm putting it out there to challenge myself, okay?
Right here on the Do Better Show. Okay.
I think, you can find me at DiPrima Radio, DiPrima, and then radio on all the platforms. And I, appreciate the like, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff, comment. Mm-hmm. To do better, I think we need to think about joining organizations, really. Excuse me. Mm-hmm. I think we need to think about, to do better, I think we need to think about joining organizations. Or if you don't want to join an organization, be willing to collaborate with organizations. That's what I chose because I always felt that as a media person, it was nice to be able to spread the wealth. You know what I mean? This organization, that one, and that one, and that one can all be on my platform. But I've collaborated closely with organizations. And the reason I suggest that is because I think it's a force multiplier. We can do a lot on our own. We can make statements in our music, on our microphones, whatever platform they might be. But when you either help an organization to accomplish a mission or you donate your time to them, whether it's on the mic or, in the trenches, it has a broader impact. So whether it's Black Lives Matter grassroots, whether it's, the NAACP, whether it's a small organization right on your block, I tend to like those, little storefront one right in your community, Second Call, Detours, Unity One, these kinds of organizations that make your efforts part of a bigger whole. I think that's important.
Okay. Shit, or even getting around some like-minded artists to get in the studio with and the right production team and get around some young people too. Young people give you energy and fresh ideas and keep you growing. So heck yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Artistically, definitely. Politically, that too.
Yeah. Okay. Hey man, I appreciate you coming through and helping us become better, Dominique. My mom always told me good, better, best. Never let it rest till your good is better and your better is the best. And this is us realizing that there's still a long way to go, and that there's always a higher level. I always say, I want to make sure this level that we're on right now is our lowest level and our next level is our highest level. The only way we get there is by doing better right now. So I appreciate you coming through and blessing the Do Better Show, the Do Better Network. You've been a great support system for me, Dominique. You've actually motivated this a lot throughout the years. So I just appreciate you coming through, giving us your energy, giving us your stories. And like I said, part 2 is definitely gonna be coming.
Absolutely, and Miles, I do believe in you.
Thank you.
I believe, you're an artist to be reckoned with. That's why I'm here.
Thank you.
I don't come to downtown LA. I don't like it. I definitely don't try to go out the house on a Sunday.
Thank you.
So those are just, for me, I only say that to say that I believe in you. I think that you are a force for good in the world. And that's, I think, part of our obligation, each generation, is to support those people, a generation down or 2 generations down, that are forces for good in the world, that are part of the solution, even if they're not doing it the way we would do it.
Yeah, accept it. Definitely accept it. Thank you for that. Yeah. Appreciate you. We ain't even talk. I wore my chain too. I thought we was gonna talk Africa a little more.
The lion's tooth.
You know what I mean? Lion's tooth, fresh from the Masamara Safari. Like this ain't no gift shop one. This one from
Kenya represent. The lion was probably walking around without a tooth.
You feel me? It's from the hut. It's from the chief, and we're gonna talk Africa. All right, we're gonna talk about better traveling and talk about connections intercontinentally coming soon, man. But once again, DiPrima Radio. Follow Dominique. I feel good, Dom. Thank you again, man. It's the Do Better Show. The Do Better Network, because who better to make you better? You guessed it, bad boy. A better you. Let's get to it. Back next time, next week. Same place. Miles Low Music, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, all that stuff. Cut! Yeah.